In a cold winter in the American countryside. The wind blows through the bare fields. The feeling of emptiness. Hello everyone, I am Harry. I am 57 years old this year. I have experienced many storms in my life. Next to me is my younger sister Bolat, 35 years old, who I always consider the light of this life. We live in a small village, where farming, about 5 kilometers from home, has become an indispensable part of my family's life. The vast field is me and my sister Bolat. In winter it looks like a vast white carpet, it's just me and my sister. The two people quietly work to decorate the picture of quiet nature. Bolat, my sister, has a close friend named Luky. He is 38 years old, lives in a town about 7 kilometers away. Luky is the type of person that everyone likes because he is easy to sympathize with, quiet, warm. His eyes always bring a calm and cheerful expression. He is like the river is never in a hurry. Every time he came by, our small house seemed to be more bustling, even the harsh cold house. One winter afternoon, when the pale purple light spread across the sky, Luky appeared at the door and invited Bolat to go for a walk. I stood watching from the window, watching them walk through the dry grass on the river bank. The quiet water reflected the setting sun, and the gentle wind blowing through seemed to carry something strange. I felt that this year's winter would not be as cold as the previous ones. Something new was slowly creeping into the lives of the three of us. That afternoon, the pale yellow sun spread across the river. Bolat and Luky walked slowly along the small path along the river bank, where the bare trees swayed in the cold wind. It was the first time I had seen my sister smile so brightly after a long time of living in seclusion. Luky, telling Bolat stories about the town where he lived, the seasons when heavy snow fell in front of the door and it took hours to clear the path, but the warm evenings talking with Luky. Bolat listened, his eyes shining in the sunset. They stopped under an old willow tree. Luky picked up a dry leaf, absent-mindedly turning it in her hand, then turned to look at Bolat. This winter seems longer than usual, but sometimes the cold makes us appreciate the warmth more, he said, his voice soft. Bolat smiled slightly, did not answer, just looked at the river flowing quietly. Her eyes were a bit dreamy, as if thinking about something far away. When they returned home, it was already 5 p.m., the sun was only a faint streak in the sky. I stood on the porch, watching the two of them walk in silence. There was something different about them. Not sadness, not joy, but silence, as if both of them were hiding an emotion that was hard to name. The small house returned to its usual quiet, but I knew that somewhere in my sister's heart, a new door had just opened slightly. The next morning, as the sky was just getting light, my sister Bolat and I prepared to go to the fields as usual. The snow from last night had covered a thin layer on the road leading to the fields, creating a quiet and pure scene. As we were getting into the car, Luky suddenly appeared with a slight smile. "Can I come with you today?" he asked, his eyes shining with warmth. Bolat nodded without hesitation, and the three of us set off together. On the way, Luky told us about his days working at the factory near town, his dreams of having his own farm where he could take care of each plot of land himself. Bolat listened attentively, and I sometimes smiled when I saw the harmony between them. The field that day was more deserted than usual, only the three of us in the vast, quiet space. The snow on the ground sparkled under the sunlight, reflecting the magical beauty of winter nature. Luky, with strong hands and patience, helped us clear each plot of land before the planting season. When night fell, the three of us walked back home together on the small road. Our shadows stretched out on the snow-covered road, blending into the faint moonlight. Bolat and Luky walked side by side, talking softly, while I quietly followed behind, watching them. It was a special day, not because of the work or the scenery, but because of the strange connection between the three people. We didn't say much, but there was an invisible thread that seemed to connect us all, beyond the boundaries of strangers or untold stories. The next morning, the pale sunlight stretched across the snow-covered roofs. The quiet of the village was broken by the sound of Bolat and Luky arguing. I stood in the kitchen, listening to the words coming from the porch, feeling the tension in each word. "I really don't understand what you want anymore, Bolat," Luky said, his voice full of disappointment. "It's not that I don't want to, but I need more time," Bolat replied, his voice choked. I stepped out onto the porch, trying to ease the situation, but the atmosphere between them had become too heavy. Bolat went back into the house, and Luky stood there for a long time, looking out at the distant fields. Finally, he walked away, without saying another word. I watched his figure disappear on the snow-covered road, my heart filled with indescribable emotions. As time passed, Bolat tried to hide her sadness, but I knew she felt empty. Luky no longer visited the house like before, and his silence made everything seem colder than winter. A year later, Bolat married a kind man in town. On the day she got married, I stood beside her, watching her radiant in her wedding dress. But deep in her eyes, I still recognized a vague regret. From then on, I continued my life in the fields, alone with memories of Bolat, of Luky, and of that winter. Everything had passed, but what remained were unforgettable memories. Time passed, other winters came and went, but that winter always left me with a strange feeling. It was not only the season of cold winds or snow-covered fields, but also the season of emotions that I had never experienced. Bolat now has a new life, happy with her loving husband. Occasionally, she comes back to visit me, bringing with her a warm smile and stories about her small family. But every time I see her, I still remember the day Bolat and Luky walked together by the river, her eyes shining with simple hope. As for Luky, he left this village right after Bolat got married. I don't know where he is or how he is living, but in my heart, he is always a beautiful memory. I remember his calm eyes, the stories he told on snowy afternoons, and the silence when things didn't go as planned. I continue my life in the vast fields. In the mornings, I wake up early to catch the first rays of sunlight and listen to the wind blowing through the grass. Perhaps my life will forever be tied to this land, a place filled with memories, smiles, and sadness. Our story ended like that, gently but also full of regret. But I believe that wherever they are, Bolat and Luky have found their own paths. And to me, the memories of them will always be precious, helping me get through the coldest winter days.